Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. It is another Wednesday night. It is another episode of the Nuvee Club Podcast. My name is Big Mike. I'm coming from Long Island, and somewhere in the throes of the city, Mr. Sanjay Singh. Sanjay, how are you?
Doing all right. Hello, everyone.
Third week of the podcast. We're here. How do you feel so far? What are we doing wrong?
Good.
What are we doing right? You feel good?
I feel great. It feels great just talking with you like on a weekly basis. I know we've had a long-term relationship, so in terms of how often we check in, we may not always check in weekly. Sometimes check in a couple times a year, but doing this podcast has been nice to maintain a level of relevance.
I do feel myself looking forward to it as the week goes on. There are definitely points where I make a mental note of something that I think would be interesting to talk about. Because as everybody knows, we are two guys that really love movies. We love talking about movies. We love going to movies. We love seeing movies. But this is not that. It's not only that. It's not the only thing we talk about. So throughout the week, different things pop up. I'm sure lots of people are doing the same thing. I'm really good at noticing things and making a mental note. A physical note that then I could actually use to further our ambitions here on the episode. Still not very good at that. But I did my best, and that's all you could ask for. You get what you get. You don't get upset. What kind of week was it for you?
You know, another busy week. Sometimes it's a week where I'm able to get through everything and, I have a sense of peace with it. And then there's some weeks where it seems like I'm always catching my breath. Like I don't get a chance to sleep. I'm sacrificing my health. But so it's one of those weeks.
Well, speaking of sleep, I found myself in another You'd be amazed how many times I found myself in a situation where I'm in a movie theater and not long passes by before I realize, I don't know if I'm really supposed to be here watching whatever this is. It's happened to me many times. I've ended up in foreign films that I didn't realize were foreign films. Nothing against foreign films. I'll sit and watch a film with subtitles. I just didn't know it was that going into it. I've arrived at musicals. My favorite one was a foreign film that, because the beginning took place in the future, it was a futuristic hospital scene, and the language was, it's very hard to explain, but it was a foreign language where every third or fourth word was an English word. So for the first 20 minutes of the film, I actually thought that I was watching a film in English, and I thought they were in the future, and this is the futuristic language. But more on that later, because I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about this Sunday. I wanted to see a movie in the theaters. I'd seen most of everything at one theater that I go to, so I went to a slightly bigger theater. I realized my problem was I didn't watch the trailer for the movie. I saw the title. It was called The Chosen, or The Chosen One, in parentheses, Last Supper. And I'll get down on a religious flick. I don't mind. I'll go see a tale about Jesus in the Last Supper. It don't bother me. But I didn't watch the trailer. I only read the synopsis, and I didn't know what I was going into. And when I sat down, the first thing was a director popped in on the screen. And I was like, uh-oh. Not that that's bad, but I was like, he said, "Do you know what I'm going to say? Do you know anything about this?"
I did. I looked at the trailer when you were talking about it, and I was like, oh, he went to go see a Jesus flick.
Yeah. Welcome to season... Well, just the fact it was Jesus flick don't matter, nothing. But the guy's like, welcome to the season 5 premiere of The Chosen. I'm like, it wasn't a movie. It was
a TV series
of a TV series that I don't watch and obviously didn't really know anything about. And there was something vaguely familiar to the situation because I almost did it last year. It's a Fathom event. They show a couple of the episodes of the TV show, which is available on platforms and so forth. I don't watch it. I don't even know. Maybe I don't have what it's on. But it wasn't a movie is basically what I'm saying. I'll watch a movie. I'll watch any movie about anything. You know it. But the guy literally goes, welcome. Thank you for coming out to see the first 2 episodes of the season premiere of season 5 of The Chosen. And he goes, now wait. If you have not watched The Chosen, don't leave the theater. Not that I would leave the theater, but I was like, is he talking to me? How many people find themselves in this position? But so
maybe Lost, maybe any kind of show that has some kind of big following, because it's got incredible reviews. It's a highly rated TV show, and it's on a streaming channel I've never heard of. So I don't know who's watching this
You're
thing.
talking
but
about The Chosen One? Or The Chosen?
The
What is it
Chosen,
called?
yeah.
The Chosen or The Chosen One?
It's called The Chosen, and it's you're right. It's a TV series. I don't know if it's on TV, but it's on some streaming channel I've never heard of, and it's got incredible reviews on IMDb. So I was like, I guess there's a big following here. It's got like 50,000 ratings.
Yeah. I mean, listen, there's lots of people in the world that would follow that, and I'm not saying I'm not one of them, but I'm saying that I was impressed with the aesthetics. I will give it its one critique, and then we can move on. Here's my one critique of The Chosen. And maybe this is because I have a terrible short-term memory, and that part of my brain that could really make sense of like faces and names, it's just not there, Jack. I don't know what happened to it. It's covered in mayonnaise and butter. And every single character, I mean, granted, got to think about what its story is. Every character is just a white guy with long hair and a beard. Every character. All right, I knew who the Jesus was, but I couldn't tell you who anybody else was. And I sat there for 15 minutes. Judas is giving a big speech, and I'm like, wow, I can't believe Judas said that. And then it's not even Judas, it was Peter. So, one critique. Give them headbands, maybe bracelets, wristlets, something, or maybe name tags.
Lower thirds.
All the
characters need lower thirds when they come up.
There you go. Yeah. So, but my point was, it wasn't a good movie because it wasn't a movie. It was 2 episodes of a season-long thing. So I was good. Production quality, great. You really thought you were in 27 AD or whatever it was. So anyway, let's move on to the Nuvee spotlight. Let's get off of movies that weren't movies that Big Mike ended up in the theater watching, and let's go to a real movie now available through Nuku and Nuvee Spotlight. Sanjay, take it away.
Yeah, so Anywhere is a short film created by a filmmaker in Serbia. And the premise is an outcast is caught by a border policeman and has 15 minutes to persuade him to let him go, find his outcast family before the backup arrives. So this was a really engaging performance piece between 2 actors and the tension of a kind of military control. And I really enjoyed it. It's only available on Nuku. And I enjoyed it because it's a very human experience having to deal with a semblance of control and authority, and also being at the sole discretion of that authority. And I think people would enjoy it, especially as it's a relevant topic in today's times, and there's so many wars still going on in that particular region as well.
I laughed before. I mean, it sounds like a really interesting movie. It sounds like something that I would certainly enjoy watching. But before we hopped on the episode, we have these show notes. And Sanjay threw in the links to the Nuvee Spotlight. But when someone sends you an email and there's a hot link, let's be honest, you don't read the entire text of the email. This is a link, obviously, he wants me to see. I see Nuvee Spotlight, I click the link. I didn't realize it was an IMDb link to what's the name of the director?
Alexander
I thought that was
Alexic.
Yeah. Well, but Alexander's not spelled the way Alexander's supposed to be spelled, right? Don't make me look like a fool here.
It's Alexander, Aleksander.
All right. So in my defense, when I clicked that and he said, "This is the Nuvee Spotlight," I thought that was the title of the movie, and then I'm reading the bio. And I'm like, this doesn't sound like a movie. It just sounds like this life story of somebody from Serbia. The movie is Anywhere. The director is from Serbia. And it's available now on Nuku, NUKHU.com. Correct?
Only available on Nuku.
Only available on Nuku.
And one day we'll rent out a movie theater and we'll advertise it as another type of episode for The Chosen. And we'll get the people.
Yeah. Yes. Maybe we can someone translate it into Serbian for us? Oh, gosh. All right. Adolescence, a Netflix TV series from overseas. I got into another show, same producer, same guy, same actor that was in it. I feel like it's taking Netflix by storm. A lot of people I know are talking about it. A lot of people I know have seen it. We don't want to get into spoiler alerts, but we will talk about the unique way this particular film was captured. And it really does become part of the story, even though I think the story is in service of the story, not in service of the technology or the wow factor of how it was filmed. But Sanjay, can you tell us a little bit about the way that they filmed it?
Yeah, so this was, I guess, a 4-episode series, limited series on
Which
Netflix.
I did watch. Yeah.
That was filmed using a single take approach. So in a single take approach, a lot of choreography needs to happen. Once the director yells action, the actors start acting, camera operators start doing their thing, moving around the actors. A lot of choreography needs to happen with the lighting designs and the lighting grids in order to accommodate the moving crew.
But let me stop you right there for 1 second. Let me just say, so have you done? So I didn't do any research into the film because I did consume it fast. When I heard about it, the person who told me about it, my boss here at work, he said you should watch it because of this single shot thing that they're doing. It's fascinating, and the story was good. And I also didn't want to have any spoilers for the story, so I didn't look at anything. But are you saying in your research that you found like every episode was one shot, or did they just edit it creatively to make it look as though it's one seamless shot? Because it feels like they're magicians.
Yeah, so I haven't seen the show, but
Yeah, I've seen the show.
I've seen a lot of BTS about the show and the show creators talking about it. And,
Now, what's this BTS? Don't be using this terminology for the kids. What do you mean?
Behind the scenes?
Jesus Christmas. Why don't you just say, I've seen a lot of... We're not so busy in life where you can't use the full behind the scenes instead of BTS. It almost sounds like it takes exactly the same amount of time to say.
It doesn't.
Okay. I'll say behind the scenes. You say BTS. 1, 2, 3. Behind the scenes.
BTS.
See, I brought it out before you even opened your mouth.
No.
Okay,
So,
you've read a lot of articles and industry types. Okay.
And they shot it with the camera that I have, the Ronin 4D 8K, which is a very versatile camera. It was used on this movie Civil War, on that new Brad Pitt movie F1. It's been used on some TV series. You know, in terms of the type of equipment they use, they're using cutting-edge equipment to help accomplish this task. And then there's one scene which I saw the behind-the-scenes video of. At the end of the film, or at the end of the episode, they affixed the camera to a drone. There's choreography where the guy's running through this alley, this walkway, this corridor, and then he attaches it to a drone, and then the drone takes the camera off into a whole other area where they finish off the scene. And, this kind of logistics take a lot of rehearsal. I love innovation in filmmaking, but the single shot has never really been something that's wowed me, like as much as equipment or graphic advancements.
But I don't think you're understanding my question. My question is, do you think the entire 56-minute episode was shot in one take? Or do you know that for sure? Or do you need to go watch it to have an eagle eye? Because I caught some things where, I think they could have made a cut there when the doctor walked in front of the camera. You could make cut, or they zoomed, it got really close to the car door. But I'm saying, do you know this was shot 56 minutes straight and it just doesn't seem possible. It doesn't seem possible, Sanjay.
They said that they did.
Wow! Man, now you gotta watch it. Turn off this podcast and watch it right now. No, don't.
I don't know. I think you have to. There's so many things that have to coordinate, like a symphony on a film set. And if one person messes up, whether it's the crew or the actor, you usually have to do another take. So
the take that's a minute and a half, not 56 minutes.
But hear what I'm saying. The single shot approach prioritizes the crew performance over the actor's performance. So the actor could deliver a stellar performance, and all of a sudden the crew messes up and no, we got to do it again. You see what I'm saying? Yes.
Okay, I have a question. What can you explain to me? Listen, I understand what you're saying. What's the virtue? What's the benefit of putting the effort into production like that in such a way that you're saying the benefit is that it emphasizes the crew performance over the acting performance? Great. Okay. Great. You say it. You say words. They're words and they're strung together and they make a sentence. And if my grandmother had wheels, she'd be a wagon. What's the point of doing that?
I don't know. Like, that's the thing. It doesn't make something that is a catch-all for me. Like, I have to watch these guys did this achievement because they did this whole thing in one shot. The filmmaking started off in one take. Ziegfeld's Follies was one take of Broadway shows. They just stuck a camera up and they let actors perform. And there was no choreography of the camera. There was no movement of the camera, but it was a single take. So now you're saying you're going to move the camera around a little bit. You're going to switch some lights up and down. And now all of a sudden it's like...
Yeah, I get you.
It is.
But it's not a little bit. They put
1917... So 1917 was the war film by Sam Mendes that they said was shot to look like a single take. And they hit. Have you seen this film?
No.
Okay. 1917. So this was a film, big film, came out a couple years ago. And
Oh,
they
wait a
used the
minute.
same approach.
Sanjay, I don't know what's going on with my mind. Yes, I saw 19 in the theaters. The way you were talking about it, it made it sound like you were talking about a movie of a Broadway show shot in one take in 1917. And I was saying, no, of course not. I did not see a movie of a one shot of Broadway shows from 1917. I was thinking, I don't even think they had film. All right. Now, yeah, the war movie, the guy from the Lord of the Rings. I got you.
Explosions,
Yes.
you know, like incredible.
But that was shot to
choreography.
look like one
Yeah,
take.
but
It
this
wasn't
is
one take.
Again, I don't think that just because you did a whole performance or a whole choreography in one take, that makes it the best, the best type of show or the best type of cinematography, the best type of filmography, because again, it prioritizes the crew performance over the actor's performance.
I get you. I would reserve judgment. I think it's important to see it. But to the creators of Adolescence, listen, you heard it here first. Sanjay hasn't seen it, not impressed. He is not impressed as of yet. And I thought I couldn't feel any worse about what I'm about to talk about if what I created this week until right now when you're telling me you're not impressed with a 56-minute single take with like 20 different actors and 3 different locations. But what I created, I did a little BTS video of creating a commercial. There's a commercial account. You didn't even jump on me for saying BTS.
No, because it's the right way to say it.
There's a client. The company I work for has interests down in Maryland. There's a client that does a car dealership, and I did a voice for them back in December, and they liked it. They liked the energy. They like what I do. I have a style when it comes to that. I can have a conversational tone in a voiceover, but what people pay for is the electrifying energy, hype man feel. I took when I was doing it, what made me decide to record it and capture it was the fact that so many times I wear contacts, when I'm putting so much energy into it and it's all coming from down here, man, and I'm telling you about the money you could save, sometimes the pressure builds up so much in my eyes that my contacts shift and my eyes go blurry and then I can't even read the script anymore.
Yeah, you turned it red. You turned red when you did that.
Exactly. I put a lot into it because that's what they're expecting. You know, that is exactly why that's what I'm not being paid for. 0. But no, I make a salary. So you do that, you put that extra effort in. So I recorded that because I thought it would be funny. That's what I created.
I did see that. I thought it was hilarious. And I saw an iteration before it too. And I can see how much work you put into those kind of videos, man. You know, you're really paying attention to the emphasis on every syllable.
Yes, I am. But that's I thought it would be interesting to see. Well, you already covered the stuff that you're working on, your just basic week and everything. You're moving forward. You had sent this the second week. You sent this article about AI, and we talked a little bit about it last week. But is there something else that really jumps off the page that you want to talk about this again? Are you worried the AI is coming for your job?
You know, the job is evolving always, and I think the tools are evolving. So it's the nature of it. I think what's interesting about the latest discussion around it is
the copyright.
the compensation model around copyright and the attribution of notable artistic styles. If the attribution becomes something that is integrated into prompting or into the generation of AI works, or if it kind of goes away with the times. But I think attribution, anybody that's read Wikipedia scrolls all the way to the bottom and can see all the sources that have helped comprise of that article. And, when you look at AI and AI-generated works, they are an amalgamation of a lot of different works and styles and artists. And particularly when they're trying to achieve a specific aesthetic, they pull from a particular source more than others. And so with last week's issue was Studio Ghibli. And, this is a very unique style pioneered by Hayao Miyazaki. And anyone
that
that's
sounds like you made that up.
No, Japanese animated artist. So it's an animation style. Created this studio, and they have a variety of media such as like short films, commercials, television films, and it's a very unique style. So the fact that the internet was essentially flooding all of everybody's social feeds with Studio Ghibli recreations of notable works says something about the copyright problems around this and what it means. I mean, Sam Altman, the creator of ChatGPT, said his servers were melting. They were getting 1 million users an hour because of the popularity of this particular generation of this work.
Yeah.
And anybody who doesn't know Miyazaki is just kind of following a craze. And where do we leave the originator or the inspiration? I mean, Shakespeare is somebody that's still around, even though years have passed and his works have been remixed. But will that continue to be the case as this kind of technology becomes more prolific?
I would like to think that there's nothing that's going to replace the human spirit. There's nothing that's going to replace what people would refer to as a soul. But I do believe that the problem becomes more perilous when you introduce the other element that you mentioned here, an article talking about the decline of human intelligence. So if our brains aren't exercised in all areas, including disciplines, mathematics, physics, all the sciences, and the arts, I think there is a real possibility that the intelligence of the average human will continue to decline. And I don't know what that means. Then is AI our saving grace? Or is it really ultimately our peril? Because these things are taking over the mechanics of what they're doing. Now they're going to take over the thinking.
Yeah, it's kind of a split. I think it's kind of a split how it affects society. I think again it'll affect society in different ways. There will be a portion where it diminishes intelligence and diminishes capacity, and then there will be a percentage that is aware of this and is awakened by this. But have you ever seen the film Idiocracy?
I have not.
Okay, so Idiocracy is probably one of the most relevant films now, and it came out like almost 20 years ago because it posits a futuristic society, and it's a comedy film, and it posits a society where celebrities have become politicians and people have become so lazy and consumed by media that the resources for clean water and for food and for infrastructure have completely diminished. And things are collapsing all around them. They've been feeding the crops with Gatorade, and society is at peril. And a time traveler from our time basically travels into that future, and he has just general intelligence, but his general intelligence
is the
smartest man in the world, and he ends up saving the day. So I highly recommend that film, but it kind of posits what you're talking about. What happens when we become too reliant on technology and machines to think for us. We end up giving up our ability to control the future and our ability to control circumstance and dynamics, and subject our future to the perils or the decisions of this AI. And this AI will have its own decision about how to direct humanity and how to make itself stronger and more prolific, and how we deal with that and how we let that control to the AI will be a continued negotiation.
Well, you've sufficiently scared the hell out of me. My only thought on this is there's no way you're going to stop the freight train of progress. And of course, AI means progress nowadays. I just think that from my seat at this particular age, and maybe even at your age, you would say, but I grew up, I learned enough about the value of thought and the value of thinking and the value of improving my awareness of things and adding to my knowledge. We grew up at a time where we still see the value of that, even though AI tools and all technology tools may make tasks easier. We have not lost, at least I think that from my generation up to yours, we haven't lost that ability because the technology was introduced at such a young age. But that doesn't mean the next generation or the current generation aren't in a little bit of a pickle. And I feel like if I were king for a day, I might go, listen, we're going to hold off on most of this technology that adds convenience to, we're going to try to limit the use of it for people while their brains are growing from up till age 18 or 24 or whatever it is, whatever society deems necessary, so that the human race never loses that valuable tool in their tool belt of how to think and how to reason. And everybody needs those things, especially for the day when the technology stops working. So I don't know if that's a fix. I don't know if that's an answer, but it certainly is my thought.
I think it's a good thought. I think the experts in the space right now are saying that exact same thing for new parents, to teach your children life skills. 15 years ago, they were telling kids to learn coding and to learn computer science, and now they're saying, don't learn how to use AI, learn how to discuss with AI.
Interact,
manipulate it because the coding can be handled automatically. You can literally
AI can do the coding. Yeah,
there will be a relative future where you can just describe the app that you want to the AI. You don't even need to prompt it or tell all the functionality. You could just talk and it'll create the app for you. So what that future, how far that future is and what that future does for people, I'm not entirely sure. The commoditization of things and resources, I'm not sure how all the economics pans out. So as long as you grow up with some semblance of humanity and a tie to the earth and the ground and using whatever your faculties are to sense and interact with the world, is probably will be your strongest skill to have.
Yeah, hopefully. I know I put a lot of resources in honing my skills in my intrapersonal skills. You got to talk about the movie you want everybody to see, Idiocracy. I'm going to say The Alto Knights. The Alto Knights is currently in theaters. It stars Robert De Niro in both starring roles. It tells another mob story. If you've seen The Irishman, it's very Irishman-like, less Goodfellas, less Casino, more Irishman. But it tells a missing element of the mafia story that has been talked about and referenced in movies like The Irishman, in movies like Goodfellas, but we never really saw it come to life on the screen. I do recommend The Alto Knights. But I'm sure their marketing budget was zero or in the negatives, because no one that I've ever talked to even knows about it. They're like, this is a mob movie with De Niro in two roles? And I don't know nothing about it. I'm like, nobody even heard of it.
Well, they made this movie, Scorsese made a movie about this mob boss, Costello, before, right? The Departed?
Totally different character. The Frank Costello in The Departed, supposedly based off of Whitey Bulger, who was New England mobster. This Frank Costello, same exact character name, but not the same character, is a real-life figure from history. Frank Costello, De Niro plays Frank Costello and Vito Genovese. Doesn't really look like Costello, but looks exactly like Vito Genovese. If you look at the pictures next to each other, the makeup department really did a good job.
Nice, man. I think I saw the trailer. I think they'll be up for some awards in the makeup department for sure.
They definitely will. Any parting words, Mr. Sanjay Singh, before we wrap it?
Also, the Minecraft movie came out. Did you hear about that?
I saw the theater. I saw the trailer. I didn't know it came out in theaters yet.
Yeah, man. Jack Black. They did a whole campaign about it. It's been tough to watch the news lately. It's like it's kind of a compendium of all these things. You're just like, what should I care about? But Minecraft is out, and Jason Momoa says his kids don't play Minecraft. So they don't believe that in their household. They don't believe in video games. So
yeah, and I don't know. I played Super Mario Brothers. That's the generation I'm in.
It's one hell of a way to get people to watch your movie. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, well, maybe Jason Momoa and Rachel Ziegler can get together on exactly the right way to deal with the media to promote the movie and make the most money as possible.
I think you're onto something. I think there is an anti-marketing revolution in the making.
Well, if everybody was like me, every movie would have great box office results, because I'll go to the movies and see anything. Great episode. I love talking about this stuff. We'll talk more about movies, but not just movies. Next week, you can follow us at Nuvee Club on Instagram, at Nuku on YouTube and Spotify. That's Nuku, N-U-K-H-U, and Nuku.com as well. I guess we'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week. Submit any questions if you want us to talk about any particular topics on your mind, and enjoy your time out here, everyone.